Right, so welcome everyone. This is Eric. He's a syndicator from Florida, and he's been doing that for about 16 months now. He's about to close his third deal, and I'm very happy to have him here. Eric, anything else you want to add to, let everyone know who you are?
Yeah, I really appreciate that, state of Florida. But I actually have a few occupations also that are kind of parallel to the syndication world. I actually work for a diagnostic center called Neuroskeletal Imaging,
Okay.
where I promote MRI, CTs, X-ray, Dextral ultrasounds. But the cool thing about that is I affiliate with a lot of referring physicians and attorneys. So it kind of shows you the network of people I'm hanging out with that could be a great job for the syndication down the road.
Yeah.
Also, I'm a residential realtor, so it's kind of another parallel situation on the real estate side, but we don't have to get to the weeds so much on that. And then one other thing is for cost segregation, we depreciate accelerating on the assets, I should say.
Hmm.
And that's a way to save some money from Uncle Sam in the beginning and then
Exactly.
put that into other investments down the road. But yeah, I really appreciate the quick intro, Hugo.
Okay, cool. Right, so let's jump right into the questions. First question, well, I think, how did you first get into real estate? What inspired you? And did you have any kind of like aha moment that made you focus on multifamily or other assets like that?
Yeah, when the world kind of changed in 2020 when COVID happened.
Yep.
With my diagnostic center, we had two teams, Team A and Team B. So I had 3 days on, 4 days off with the scheduling, just to be social distancing and all that.
Yes,
I was
yes.
like, I have 4 days off and I'm working out hardcore, but I want to accomplish more. So what did I do? I always had a inspiration on real estate. So I got my real estate license during those days I had off. And
Okay.
my goal was to fix and flip.
Yeah.
But then, but also what inspired me, I just wanted to put more on my plate to accomplish to make myself feel amazing.
Hmm.
But the cool thing about that is with the AR on whatever you want to say, there's two moments about that. I started selling these homes and offices to these doctors and attorneys without even putting a cent into the marketing like a normal realtor does. So I was like,
Right.
oh, real estate's getting even more. I love it. And then when I dove into it with my business partner on the syndication part, a lot of people think you need to be a multimillionaire to own these multi-million dollar properties.
I've heard that a lot. I've heard that a lot. Yeah.
It's not it. That's why everyone steered away, and most of them are never educated. So those were the kinds of moments that got me going. And then, the first 3 years of the residential, and then now these projects, we're putting another zero behind it. So I'm thrilled.
I like it. I like it. Okay, great, great, great. And you mentioned, fixing and flipping. That is kind of, the first thing I looked at when I looked at real estate, but we'll get into that
Right.
on another day. Okay, so how about you walk us through, your first multifamily deal, the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Okay. Well, I'm just going to be honest with you. Our very first deal, we kind of got spoiled. We lined up with the perfect team. But
Right.
how I got that? So this warrior group that Rod Khleif has created, the networking is one of the most important things. You really do fill in the
Yes.
gaps of your weaknesses and strengths, and you could expedite anything to the process to the finish line. I'm serious on that. So
Hmm.
we promoted our strengths by raising capital, networking, and then presentations. But during that time, that process of the first 4 or 5 months, I reached out to like 60 or 70 warriors.
Okay, that's a large number.
I know, but actually in my CRM right now, I counted, I have 402 warriors from the last 16 months.
Wow.
So
Okay.
this kind of shows you the networking and power. In fact, I never had a sip of coffee in my life, but I've been to 20 Paneras and Starbucks in the last like 8 months. It's crazy. But what I'm doing is I reach out to these warriors and I try to fill in the gaps, like I said earlier. And
Hmm.
then one lined up with these guys over in Texas. They have their own construction on the renovation side for smaller units.
Yep.
And one led to another. And then they hired Steven and I on. We wanted something smaller in the beginning. It was only a 52 unit.
Hmm.
And they had all their ducks in a row, but we wanted to make sure we get our feet wet and understand the cash flow and the deal flow, I should say.
Yes.
And then they hired us on later on. So they did all the grunt work. It was basically under contract when they hired us. We just had to raise 900 or 800,000 within the 6 weeks for the capex.
Hmm.
And then that helped them expedite to finish everything on their bulk on their end. And it was amazing. We attained it with 59% occupancy, and then literally less than 9 months after that, we were at 100%.
Damn,
It,
that's
it
good. That's
was
good. Yeah.
we're already giving back quarterly distributions to our investors, and it's just been smooth sailing.
Yeah.
Um, that's the really good part. But the good thing about this, you don't have to just do any items in your backyard. I live in Florida and we closed our first one in San Angelo, Texas. Most
Yep.
people have never heard of that location, but
Me neither.
there's dimes, there's gems in these smaller cities that no one's unheard of. So it's a beautiful process. Um, the ugly, there was only one ugly with this besides
Okay.
buying new water tanks. We learned it was a life lesson here. Insurance policies doesn't really mean what they say on paper. We had a
Mm.
hailstorm. It was pretty bad. And
Yep.
we have 5 or 4 buildings, and 3 of them had to get replaced with roofs.
Yes.
And they said this roof would have been covered if this value of this property was a certain amount. And at the time, our value wasn't at that their
At that
level
amount. Yeah. Okay.
umbrella, however you want to say it. So if everything was added, if we made everything 100% and then we did the renovations, it would have been above that where it could have been saved. So we took a hit in the reserves, unfortunately. Didn't
Okay.
affect our investors, but it's just like it was a huge eye opener. So, but yeah, you got to do more homework on the insurance. So
Yeah,
that
I
was
think insurance
that was
companies have a reputation for being,
yeah.
they have a lot of if this and if that and a lot of catches, a lot of, different things that be really, really you have to pay really careful attention to what is written in those policies for
Yeah,
sure.
so that was our biggest ugly. But other than that, that District 52, 52 unit apartment building, it's been phenomenal. And now we have a waiting list for others. So it's been smooth sailing.
Okay, great. It sounds like a very successful start there for you guys.
Yeah.
So let me see. Next. Okay, so has your strategy evolved since that first deal? So for example, maybe like deal criteria, risk tolerance, or maybe like mindset shifts. Because I think a lot of people, maybe before the first deal, they're maybe questioning themselves whether can I do this or not. But then after the first deal, maybe like a lot of people have a really dramatic mindset shift. How about you?
Oh, it was a huge ego boost in the very beginning. I tell you what, we were on fire. We wanted to help everyone out and syndicate even more. But
Yeah.
to be on the conservative side, I'm always going to be conservative. I'd rather lose my money before any investors.
Yes.
So there's one thing that scares us as delinquents. So I'm not trying to get political or anything, but I like to stick in the red states
Okay.
just because of that factor. There's one non-warrior has like a 20 some unit and he has one delinquent in there for 24 months almost.
Oh my
So you kind
goodness.
of deal with the headache. And then we had one in Texas and it only took us literally over a month. So you kind of do
Yeah.
the math of what you want to play with and then what cash flow you want to keep holding on to. So
Yeah.
it's so I'm very conservative on that side, but what was the other part? I'm sorry. Oh yeah, the
Uh,
criteria.
yeah.
We started with the smaller one, the 2.6, just to understand the cash flow and all this or the deal
Hmm.
flow. Then we closed a self-storage facility in our backyard about an hour away from me, and it was a $6.2 million property, and it was 652 units. So we expanded. We actually had to get understanding on the new deal structures, and the
Right.
no money, more problems. But it was a beautiful thing for us. And then we closed that in August of last year. And now we're going on to even bigger. So we're almost doubling or even tripling. And now we have a $13 million senior living down going
Wow.
in Florida. It's under contract. We're still doing the due diligence. I don't want to brag too much yet because still hasn't closed yet.
Right.
But
Okay.
it has been phenomenal ever since. And then let me think. No, that sums it up for that. There's yeah, I'm good on that one for you.
Okay. Cool. 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 Hey, if you've got a real estate deal, a problem, or even just a question, we want to hear about it. Doesn't matter if it's big, small, complicated, ugly, or somewhere in between. If it's a good deal, we're absolutely interested. Period. And if you've got capital, you need to put to work in solid real estate opportunities. We've got those too. Either way, let's talk. Here's how this works. We always need more deals. We always need more capital. And we always find a way to make it happen. No games, no runaround. If we can't work together directly, we'll hand deliver you to someone who can. All right, so a very,
Oh
very,
yeah, the mindset for
yeah,
that.
yeah,
You could have a
yeah.
crappy building, but if you have the best team, you could accomplish anything. You
All right.
really can.
So
And then
team important.
yeah, but you remember, you don't have to have the same team on every project, and that's why it
Right.
makes it more diverse and it's awesome. And then the fun fact about the mindset changing, I thought you could just make money, but also you could save money.
Yeah.
With like I mentioned about my cost segregation with my cousin-in-law with Green Summit Engineering, those write-offs with the K1s and all this, any other income, it saves you a buttload in the beginning. So it's very valuable. So that was the mindset. So I'm like, we're not just making money, we're saving money.
Perfect, perfect. Okay, so I like it. I like it. Big ego boost as well. All right, nice.
Oh, yeah.
So something really important that I'm very curious about is like, partnerships. Because I know some other people who maybe they're raising capital on their own or they're doing certain things on their own. So like, what made you decide to partner up rather than, raising capital on your own?
Well, to be honest, Steven's one of my closest friends in the world. He actually officiated my wedding. I trust this guy, and he's the one that brought me into the syndication world. So,
Okay.
first off, I didn't really know anything about it, and he helped me out on that because I was
Right,
just
right,
sticking,
right.
I was tunnel vision just on the residential. He showed
Yes.
me that you could put another zero behind all the numbers. But the reason why I chose a partner with this, you got to divide and conquer. So I know
Okay.
I'm very well known for the medical and residential side, but Steven, on the other hand, has the construction, commercial, and presentation side. So
Hmm.
that's a whole other avenue where we could divide and conquer, and it
Right.
leads to more connections than you'll ever know. I'm serious on that one. With
Yep.
his construction background, he knows all the top dogs. So it was just it was a no-brainer on that. So I lack on some items, and he fills them up, and then vice versa, for
Okay.
sure.
Okay. Sounds like a very good partnership, man.
And
And okay.
I'm terrible at technology, and he'll come in, he'll come through and help me out on that.
Okay. So for someone looking to work with another person or like as a partner, what advice would you offer?
Stay in your lane, but you can still divide and conquer, and I promise, just like the previous question, it will flood the gates on new connections. It really will. So just know what you have to do, finish those KPIs, and yeah, deals will fall on your laps. Their helping tools will be there.
Okay, cool, cool, cool. All right, so let's dive into some nitty-gritty. What are your biggest lessons around, finding deals?
Well, finding deals right now, I actually stuck to like a very easy topic. Like I said, I talked to over 400 warriors. So
Yep,
I want to promote my deals. I'm going to be boots on the ground in Florida. I'm going to be raising capital. I'm going to be networking with everyone to help you guys have other connections.
yep,
So people are reaching out to me, especially when you need capital. It's one of the golden tickets to try and get onto any team because that's the scarce item right now. So
for sure, for
it's
sure.
really easier for us. So we are not the ones finding the deals in the moment unless it's a
Okay.
joint venture. We're doing the smaller ones in
Mm-hmm.
our backyard or in Tampa, anything 4 hours away. But for the syndication processes, those bigger buildings or properties, people are reaching out to us after they do their grunt work with their underwritings and et cetera.
Okay. All right. So they're bringing the deals to you then.
They are, I mean, because we are raising cap.
All right, cool. And then so how about funding deals? Maybe this is something you can talk more about. What are your biggest lessons around funding deals?
In the very beginning, before I even started syndication, I already had a portfolio of people, of high net worth people. You got to put
Yep.
yourself in those bigger rooms. So when I was just the marketer for that diagnostic center, I was shooting the crap or shit, however you want to say it, with these
Uh-huh.
attorneys, these doctors, these case managers, these referral coordinators. It was just great. It really
Yep.
was. So I already built a reputation with them, and now I'm just talking. I don't even talk diagnostics. I talk sports, real estate, or family, one of those. But I already have that foundation with them where they would trust me. So
Yep.
I had a head start. It really is. But
Yes.
we are trying to build a fund at the end of the year. That's our next step where we
Okay.
could pull the trigger on the even bigger properties. But we'll go through the weeds on that on another time.
Okay, cool, cool, cool. And then what about like operating or executing? So, after you close a deal, or any big lessons around, operating
Yeah,
the actual plan.
just because you close a deal and the previous office managers or property managers were running that property doesn't mean you have to be married to them. We
Yes. Okay.
held on tight a little too long because we're good hearts trying to make sure it works. But if you get the baton handed off to you, if you have to clean house, do it. If
Okay.
you see any toxic, do it right away. If someone's not making your quotas or not making you guys revenue, cut them. We had one officer manager was there for like 8 years and we took over and it's a new owner. So you're going to have different rules, different boundaries. And if they don't respect that, just cut the ties sooner because that's a lesson learned for sure. And that goes
Okay.
for office managers and property managers especially.
Okay. Okay. All right. Fair enough. And what
Yeah.
about exiting? I'm not sure how much you can speak to that because I'm not really sure whether you've gone like full cycle on any deals, but how about
Yeah,
exiting?
I played with some numbers. Yes, I haven't been in the game for the 5 years yet, but our goal is usually those 3 to 5 year holds after the syndication process, after
Hmm.
we obtain the property. But our goal is just to have those add values where when we have to sell, it's going to be way worth way
Way
more
more.
than
Hmm.
what we had to, and then makes the better investors returns for sure.
Cool, cool,
But
cool.
add
Well,
value is the answer. Add value is the answer.
yeah, yeah, okay. I agree with that. All right. Rapid fire round now. So just don't think, just tell me what comes to your mind. So how about like the worst tenant story?
Okay, I got I.
Sounds like you have a
I,
few.
I have a very unconventional one, but it's
Okay.
going to be
Uh-huh.
the storage facility, unfortunately.
Okay.
Um, we had it was 87% occupancy, so there's like about 13% are just free range, right?
Right. Uh-huh.
And we should have put locks on all of them, but we didn't.
Okay.
And we had a couple of homeless people living in them,
Nothing inside. Oh gosh. Oh gosh.
living
Okay.
inside. So it was a dirty mess. You could see what their lifestyle was with their dirty buckets, their dirty clothes, everything. So we had to get all that out. In fact, we had to lock their items in there in the very beginning so they make sure they're not coming back.
Right.
And then once we knew they were gone, then we had to get everything out of there. So it was unfortunate on that, but it's not like a permanent tenant, but it was yeah, it was a homeless just setting shop.
Okay. Okay. And then how about like your favorite expense saving hack?
Oh my God, this one's beautiful. So back to our District 52 one.
Hmm.
In San Angelo, Texas, the reserve parking is the best life hack. They were still parking in the same parking spots, but now they're paying a little bit more,
Okay.
from 25 to $45 more. But it makes them feel more at home, and they
Hmm.
have a little bit more ownership. But I like to think about that now because all about I think there's 35 to 40 of them have parking spots reserved, and we have 52 units.
Hmm.
All that revenue added up is more than one and a half of a normal rent in our facility right now. So instead of 52 out of 52, I say it's 53 out of 52 of occupancy. So
Cool, cool, cool. So you
that is
got
the
you're
best.
beyond 100% occupied.
It is if you want to put
Mhm.
that side down on paper, but the parking is the best life hack. Reserve parking. I recommend that all the time.
Okay, okay. Yeah, and I heard a story about Rod that they didn't even have to pay to paint the reserve parking spots. They got like a towing company to do it because then they got the that towing company got the contract for, if there's any cars that need to be removed and so on. So yeah, that's a nice one.
Yeah, there's ways out of that, but it just makes them feel happier at the place, which I want all tenants to be 100%, coming home and now they have their own spot, but they were still
Parking this pretty much the same
same
spot.
spot. Yeah.
Shh, don't tell anyone. Okay.
Yeah.
How about, I like this question very much. How about like, there's a lot of advice floating around in the real estate world. Everyone has an opinion. What would you say is like some of the most overrated advice in terms of real estate?
Oof. Overrated. Man, this rapid fire, you got me on this one. I could definitely tell you the underrated one.
Okay, let's jump to underrated. Let's jump to underrated because that's the next question anyway. So what do you think is some underrated advice?
Oh, cost segregation. A lot of
Hmm.
people going into this don't even know anything about that. I mean, we won't go through the weeds on it,
Yeah.
but it is just you accelerated depreciation assets, and then where you don't have to upfront to Uncle Sam in the beginning, like I said,
Yeah.
and you have all that extra money to put into other investments. People don't understand that, and I'm just giving you a little summary of it. And then Energy Star is the same thing on that. So those
Hmm.
bigger commercial buildings and like casinos and et cetera. So it's huge and it just saves money on all your investors. So people just think you're getting richer, but no, you're saving money too, and that's how you get it. So that's the
Okay.
most underrated one by
Yeah.
far. But I
Okay.
still can't get the overrated one. I
Okay, it's okay.
apologize.
We'll skip. You can't think, you can't think. It's fine. How about, okay, do you have like any superpower or like your unfair advantage?
I built my portfolio before I knew what syndication was, so I had a jump start on that for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, one thing that you would do differently.
Okay. Well, I think I left my W-2 a little too early.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I would have stayed with it a little bit more and still networked in between and off hours.
Yep.
The thing that would have started earlier also was starting to raise money.
Okay.
Started to fund. Those are the two things. If I stayed in my W-2 a little longer and then started raising money earlier. But another thing is when you're guns ho, you're having fun, you want to build your empire. I think I joined a couple too many subscriptions, I should say. So I just try to
Hmm.
get every advantage, and some kind of were spinning the wheels or counterproductive.
Yeah.
So I did actually speak. That's so funny you brought that up because I did just cancel two subscriptions
Okay.
of other different platforms last week. So yeah, don't try and get on every platform. That's the other thing. But yeah, the W-2, staying a little longer and then raising
Hmm.
money sooner.
Okay. Cool. 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 And how about like your best advice for, new investors?
I mean, real estate is it's going to be here forever. It's always going to be around. But
Right.
there's huge tax breaks, and then you need to know that your money can make more money for you. And
Yes.
it's
Uh-huh. Okay. Cool. Cool.
yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, I think, anything else that I didn't ask that you think that maybe, anyone listening to this might have wanted me to ask, or anything that you wish I had asked you?
No, just keep networking. It sounds so childish, but it does fill in the gaps. I sound like
Yeah.
a broken record on that, but
No, no, no. But
it's
that's how you can tell that someone is really has conviction is when they just keep saying the same things over and over and over. That's how
yeah.
you know that they really believe what they're saying. They don't change. They don't change what they're saying. So yeah, okay, cool. So I know you talked a little bit about like the deal down in Florida, like the assisted living stuff, but
Yeah.
anything else that you're working on that you want to share with people, or maybe if someone wants to get in touch with you, or maybe want to invest with you, what's the best way for them to do that?
Yeah, I'll give you my information, but it's Eric W at estequity.com.
Okay.
Our our main focus right now is that four pack in Florida. I can't give too much information because it's a 506B, but
Mm-hmm.
if you could put my number on the bottom of it, that would be
Sure.
awesome.
Yep. Yep.
I really appreciate that. And then we are starting a bigger fund. We're going to start our first fund. I'm sorry, not bigger one.
Mm-hmm.
And hopefully the end of the year. And that's going to pull the trigger on bigger properties and quicker transition. So if you have to pick my brain, please call me or my email will be there too.
Okay, cool, man. Cool. Well, okay. I think that wraps it up. Thank you so much for, coming here and sharing your journey, your story with us. And I hope we'll have you back, like maybe, I don't know when, but well, when you go full cycle for sure. First deal and
Oh
you exit,
yeah.
we got to get
Well,
you back
hopefully I get
then.
to
But
talk to you a
before
few
that
more
as well.
times.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
Absolutely. And hopefully I'll see you at the next Warrior event. Okay.
well, we'll see. We'll see.